Where do you see your family 100 years from now?
In this video, we're talking about how we're answering that question on a cross-country family adventure.
Family.
So we're currently driving from our hotel in Winnemucca, Nevada, on to Salt Lake City. You want to talk a little bit, Trisha, about how we've come to be in this current situation?
About 5 years ago, we moved to Northern California in the Davis area, and it was a really cool chapter. We've really enjoyed living there. But a lot has also changed in the last 5 years. We lived through, a 2.5-year pandemic. We had our first child. Some of the friends that we had become really close with moved away. There was just a lot of changes happening, and at some point, we just started asking ourselves, why do we still live here? What's keeping us here anymore?
And also over the last year and a half or so, as we have been figuring out what do we want our family mission to be and where do we want to be going as a family, there's a lot of room for that to intersect with where we live. So our big kind of crazy idea is to basically spend this summer and fall probably exploring 7 different cities to figure out what feels like home for us. So as we've put together the list of places that we want to explore, which is somewhat under construction still, we've been thinking about several different factors that we think will help us be a multi-generational family team on mission rather than detracting from that. So the first big thing that we're looking for is we're looking to be either in or near a relatively good-sized city. You want to talk about why a city feels strategically beneficial?
So in our case, our family mission centers around following Jesus.
That's really what we're talking about on these videos.
Yep. As we think about what it's going to look like for our family to follow Jesus together, we feel pretty confident that that's going to center around people. And cities are a great place to find lots of people.
Yeah, a lot of people on one place. Mm-hmm. And another thing that we're thinking a lot about as we figure out where's next for us is we're trying to find a place that's going to maybe increase the chances of our descendants ending up in close proximity to us. Because if our kids all end up moving away, that's probably going to make it harder to work like a family team on mission together,
right,
compared to if we're all neighbors, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something that we're thinking about that also makes cities attractive is that cities tend to just have a little bit more economic opportunity and diversity of the kinds of things that you can be into because there's more going on and stuff like that. Where you grew up in Ripon, Wisconsin, mm-hmm. 8,000 person town, a lot of your many cousins have ended up moving away to go to school or work, mm-hmm. just because there's not that many kinds of things that you can do in Ripon compared to Milwaukee or one of the other bigger cities nearby.
Madison, yeah. So something we're trying to imagine as we're looking at these cities is, would our kids, who will probably have a wide range of interests and gifts, would they be able to thrive here?
Yeah, if we've got a kid who wants to farm the land, is he going to have a place to do that? If we've got a kid who wants to start a nonprofit or something, is she going to be able to do that? Is the city diverse enough, and does it have enough going on that as our family mission continues to unfold and express the different gifts that our kids have, is there going to be enough going on that our kids will be able to exercise their gifts without needing to move away to somewhere else? Another thing that we're using to sort of filter the cities that we're looking at is someplace that has kind of a moderate to low cost of living. And there are a couple places we're going that are sort of debatable on that potentially. Yeah. But most of the places that we're going are on the lower end of cost of living, especially mm-hmm. as cities go.
Yeah, and where Landon grew up in Orange County, California, is a good example of how cost of living matters. It just makes it really hard for the next generation to get a foothold in that place when it costs $1 million to buy a house.
That next generation might be more likely to have to move away if they feel like they can't just get a financial foothold in the place.
Mm-hmm. The third thing we're looking for is the most subjective, but trying to find a place that has a lot of things to like about it.
Yeah, rather than our descendants hating it and feeling like they need to move away, helpful to find a place that has things to like about it.
Yeah.
Which there's going to be a range of opinions, but
sure.
A lot of what the impact that's having on our searches tends to be that we're gravitating toward places that are sort of moderate in a lot of different ways, mm-hmm. as far as weather and mm-hmm. Political climate, all that mm-hmm. sort of thing. Places that are not too extreme, I think, will help prevent our descendants from hating it too badly. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so.
And ultimately, I think that just developing a family culture that they want to stick around for is probably more important.
Yeah. Another thing that we've talked about in regards to finding a place that our descendants will like, this is kind of bound to change over time, but, you know, we've talked about finding a place where, like, we like the food that they have, nice parks, just kind of things to do. And like I said, those things are going to change over the next 100 years probably. But, you know, all we can do is find what we like right now and hope that there's still good things to like about it 100 years from now.
The fourth thing that we're looking for in our next destination is someplace that allows us to maintain, you know, a pretty solid connection with our parents and families. It's sort of logical that if we want our kids to be staying connected with us and working together with us, that it's helpful if we can model that to the extent possible with our parents and families. So with that, we're trying to end up with somewhere that is relatively travelable to our parents particularly and siblings.
So one of the benchmarks we've been using is trying to be within a day's drive or a direct flight from both of our families.
So those are like the four major criteria that we're using to screen what places to potentially end up. So we use those four factors to come up with our first list of what are the places that we want to even consider and do research on. And that led to a spreadsheet that had a bunch of different factors on it. We won't get into the details on that. If you want that spreadsheet or something, you can let us know. But we basically did research on those cities, and we started to pick out, oh, this city looks like one that we want to check out more.
You can only look at so much putting these like facts on paper and going out to like get a feel for them a little bit and experience them to the degree you can in a few weeks' time is hopefully going to prove to be helpful in figuring out what's next.
Yeah, I kind of think back for me to like the process of deciding on a college to go to was like, you could do some online research and stuff like that, but going and experiencing like what is it really like there in person, that was really helpful in starting to feel for like, oh, this place feels like a really good fit for me versus this place I didn't really quite feel at home. That kind of a thing.
And I think it helps too when we know like our intention is like going to visit with possibly living here in mind. Like it's a little different if you're just like going to a city for like a vacation or something. But in this case, we like are trying to be intentional about like, okay, what would it be like to live here and kind of experiencing like, so let's find grocery stores and, you know, maybe explore some churches or just different things that would be part of your day-to-day life.
I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is just like spending a lot of time like walking in the city. A lot of time just at parks, like trying to have a lot of conversations with people just to get a feel for like what's the culture like? Like are people like very open and like want to have conversations?
Friendly.
Is it like sort of a unfriendly place? Just getting a sense of like what is the interpersonal culture of the place like to see kind of what feels like home, more or less. Then it's probably obvious to anyone who is a Jesus follower, but we're trying to also approach this whole process very prayerfully and like trying to set up some rhythms in our lives to be like more prayerful and attentive to like listening to God than usual.
As much as we want to evaluate these places in our own like desires and whatever, and like we're really just trying to be open and saying like, okay, God, like please point to where you want for us and trying to let him lead the way, really trying to be open to listening and feeling the prompting of the Holy Spirit.
So one thing people are always wanting to know about right off the bat that we've conspicuously not talked about so far is where are you going? What are the places you're checking out? And we could just tell you, but that wouldn't be very fun, would it? And in fact, we don't even have all of the places picked out yet.
But click on this next video to hear about the first of our 7 cities.